in the Philippines, I always hear that the water's like just incredibly beautiful.
Yes, it's like crystal clear teal blue water. It's gorgeous.
It sounds good. I'm a water person, so I love that. And snorkeling and you know, I feel like a lot of places that I've snorkeled, there is quite a bit of damage done to coral reefs.
Yeah,
you know, and you might still see some fish, but a lot of the structure of the reefs, you can see it. So, how did you feel about that overall in different places that you went? How was it in the Philippines, or did you see some really great areas that still had that intact, or did you notice most places?
I would say the Philippines was one where it still felt very kind of pure and intact. I think it's interesting because it's funny because now, you know, we love traveling and we like want to see all these things, and then you get to places and there's like hundreds of people there and they all want to see the same thing in nature or whatever, and it's like on one hand it's like, yes, because this is incredibly beautiful, and like, so of course it's amazing that we get to be here, and then also we're traveling there, so we can't be like there's too many people when like we're one of the people there. But you did see, I'd say we went to the Philippines and then Indonesia, and I did feel like in Indonesia there was, at least where we were, it was maybe a bit more like touristy and kind of run down, like these gorgeous places that just by like having so many people in them, you could maybe tell. And we didn't go too far off the map, but you kind of tell that there has been some like wear and tear on the nature part of it, just from all the people visiting, living there. But then in the Philippines, I'd say it's maybe not like as common of a place to travel, and so it still felt it's very like not that many tourists. Even some people were calling this town we were staying at, like, or this island, like the next Bali or something. Like a bunch of people, it's beautiful, and like they're expecting a lot of people to start visiting and moving there. But while we were there, it's kind of like not a lot of people know about it. So it was like cool to get to see places like that are still a bit more undiscovered, but undiscovered by the masses.
Which is definitely really, you know, to see something that's not been so touched, right?
Yeah.
More, you can envision it. It might have been like that for years. That's so great. One of the things that we really care about is being, you know, good stewards of our environment and the ecosystems that we play in, for sure, but also live and work in. So that's one really good way of, you know, paying it forward or being conscious of the environment that you're in. Were there any other ways that you were able to plan, or things that you did along your journey?
We love the outdoors and we love nature. We did a lot of hiking, and so really just trying to be respectful, like you said, of like the rules and the paths, and you know, even like the culture that we were in. I'm kind of funny. I always like pick up trash everywhere I go. I just like, I can't really walk past trash and not pick it up, or it like drives me crazy. So I mean, if there's sometimes a bit of time, you could spend like all day doing that, but
you do something,
like,
right?
Yeah, I'm just on every trail that I'm on, or even walking around, I'm just constantly picking up trash and putting it in my backpack and bringing it out. So little things like that.
Which do make a difference. And if everybody just picked up a little bit of trash, you know, really.
If everyone did it, it definitely would. I think one day my friend was in Brazil. She was taking an oceanography class, and she visited us in Brazil. And we just did like a beach cleanup with ourselves. We just brought like a bag out there, and we just, on like Copacabana Beach in Rio, we just were picking up a ton of trash. And then it was kind of fun because multiple people approached us, either to like say thank you or help us, or talk to us about like some of like the customs there, or someone said that they stopped allowing plastic like cups and straws on the beach, so you can't buy them in Rio. But then now people just like go across the bay and they buy them across the bay, and so it's just interesting. You hear like little random things from locals who just like saw us picking up trash on the beach.
Which is
stuff like that is interesting.
It is interesting because it's something that we always contend with. I feel like here in the States, but you do hear about oceans everywhere and the pollution, the trash, the plastic, clothing. Like, did you experience that in most places, or just?
I would say sometimes you just don't see it. Maybe when we were in Rio, we just paddleboarded and we got to this certain spot, and it was just kind of like there was tons of trash in the ocean, almost like a layer. I think the way the tides were working is like keeping it all in this one area. So then we were like, we should like do a beach cleanup, because that's where it comes from the sand and it goes into the water. And so that's why we got the idea to do that. But definitely different places, like in Indonesia, for example, it's a beautiful place, and like tons of international people live there, and tons of people who like want to visit. And so it has just developed a ton, and it's had a lot of growth without maybe as much like city planning or planning for the trash system or whatever. And so we did notice a lot of rivers and stuff there was completely polluted. And then I found right after we left Bali, I found on Instagram just an account of these people that live there who are like completely cleaning up all of Bali and creating these. And then they have recycling centers where they sort through all the trash. They recycle a lot of it themselves. And then they put in these barriers so that the trash doesn't reach the ocean. And then they go every day to the barriers and they clean up the trash that gets caught in there. And they're like employing a lot of local people to do that, and then getting like schools involved so kids know. Because sometimes in certain areas, like the local people do just throw trash on the ground. That's kind of like we see in Mexico too. It's kind of the norm. And so it was like really cool. I started like watching all these just videos on Instagram, and then I was like, oh, I wish I was still there, because they do trash cleanup days like a couple times a week. I was like, that would have been a fun thing to just join in on.
So those little things, like when traveling, it's like it could be like, oh, that's something I can do, right?
Yeah.
And besides just taking an extra bag and picking up trash.
Yeah.
When you're out and about.
Yeah. So it's definitely small things, but I try. You try to leave places better than you found them.